All right, here's your quick note session on Mexican cleavages in the economy. Mexican cleavages and social class, again, 10% of the population earned about 1.6% of all their income, so the top is earning a lot more than 90% of their population. The wealthiest earned 10% earned 35.6% of the income. Infant mortality rates are high with the poor because there's no resources there. A lot of them going from rural areas to urban areas and lack efficient housing and things like that. Also in the rural areas, they don't have things like electricity. And the middle class has been growing throughout the years as industry has become a big part of their economy. Middle and upper class more likely to support PAN, where the poor support the PRI, and that deals with the past, where the PRI always made promises to these people, as well as the rural population, the poor population can rely on that state corporate structure. Some of the race, mestizo, is a blend of the Europeans, so the Spaniards that came over, as well as the natives. 10% of Mexicans do speak an indigenous language, and 30% view themselves as a Amerindian, or a native. Again, they're more likely to be living in those rural areas, and we'll talk about a population in the south called the Zapatistas. North versus south is huge cleavage. Not only the terrain, so dry and mountainous versus subtropical, but population is more prosperous, and that's because of the United States border and the trade and the industry in the north. So those people have higher education, more likely to be middle class, and support the privatization of industry, businesses coming in, a market-based economy, not the socialist type or the state corporate structure that the southern portion would like, where they rely on the government owning businesses. Again, a large number of them are natives in the south, and very much poor and have lack of education. So in the Zapatista movement, southern Mexico, Chiapas area occupied several towns in that state. It's an indigenous group. They want an increase in the democracy of the Mexican political system, and end to any neoliberal reforms. So neoliberal reforms used to refer to market-oriented reform policies. So they want to eliminate price controls. They want to deregulate some capital markets, any trade barriers. They want to get rid of, reduce any state influence on the economy. So allow the market to occur by itself. They want also some land reform. And they want policies, any of the trade policies that hurt their peasants, their farmers, to be removed. Here's a quick sign that if you are entering that area, you're entering Zapatista territory. They control it. The government obeys in good faith. Here's a quick interview some individuals did with the Zapatista individuals.
It's really interesting what happens when you're on the road, the people that you meet and why you meet them. It's beyond your control, you know. I met Twirls once, and then we became good friends, and then got this email from him, and there it was, the Zapatistas.
Zapatista is a group of people that have taken the name from Emiliano Zapata. He's the guy with the big head and the mustache. The Zapatistas is a movement that's just basically made out of normal indigenous peasants in Mexico, in Chiapas. Their life is not what it should be. They're being oppressed by the Mexican government. They have a thing that they call autonomy. It's very important to them that they decide what's happening in their lives. They are, in fact, in rebellion. They do not listen to they listen, but they do not obey the Mexican government. In Zapatista areas, it's the people that are governing and the government that are obeying, which you can read on every sign when you enter Zapatista areas. That's very saying for the whole strain of thought of the movement.
So at the present moment, we are just trying to come up with a summary of what we're trying to achieve by filming a profile on the Zapatista community, and hopefully they'll give us permission.
We're now in the Zapatista Caracol, which is the government, one of the five governments of the Zapatista area. And I'll now ask some questions. ¿Por qué nació el movimiento Zapatista?
Pues la razón por qué nació el movimiento zapatista es porque aquí en México los indígenas, los campesinos y todos los pobres de México siempre nos han dejado a un lado. No nos han tomado en cuenta durante muchos años. Y también pues es la situación de miseria aquí.
I can't translate it now.
No, that's too much.
So we'll do it later.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. ¿Cómo influye la rebelión en la vida cotidiana de los zapatistas?
Bueno, no está mejorando porque no hemos encontrado una solución ya favorable con el gobierno, con nuestro pueblo, porque con el gobierno pues no hay cosas pues que nos da pues algo para vivir, cada vez más careciendo las cosas. Ya no podemos comprarla, ya no podemos hacerlo. Por eso nosotros mismos empezamos a organizarnos unos trabajos para vivir, sobrevivir. ¿Sí?
¿Cuál es el mensaje más importante de los zapatistas al gente del mundo?
Bueno, nuestro mensaje como zapatista pues importante es que lo sepan pues cómo es la lucha zapatista. Porque el gobierno pues siempre anda diciendo de otra forma a otros países, pero para nosotros nuestra lucha es para todos. La lucha zapatista no solo para los zapatistas, sino para toda la gente del mundo. Que tengamos todo pues la libertad, la justicia, la democracia. ¿Sí? Es nuestro mensaje más importante pues.
Pero también queremos decirle al mundo, porque sabemos, pues, conocemos que tenemos un enemigo común, que es el neoliberalismo. Ese, pues, por eso, todos los hombres y mujeres del mundo que tienen, pues, o sea, tienen la voluntad o de luchar, pues, por ese, porque vemos que es importante luchar todos juntos. Es nada más que puedo decir.
Es que para nosotros es muy importante dar su mensaje al mundo. Y sí. Yeah, this here is very beautiful. I mean, it's really something. It says, the light for everyone, everything for everyone. The happiness of rebellion for us, nothing for us. Yeah. It's very powerful. Sounds better in Spanish, though.
You want to say it in Spanish?
It sounds better in Spanish anyway.
Say it.
Para todos la luz, para todos todo. Para nosotros la alegre rebeldía, para nosotros nada.
All right, another cleavage that has happened in Mexico. After independence from Spain, the church still conflicted with what should be happening in the government. The Constitution in 1917 creates separation of church and state. Church-affiliated schools are subject to any federal authority. Priests are denied vote because priests are viewed as powerful. Denied the right to speak anytime in public. Also, issues include, how much wealth the church had, any educational policy, the textbooks going into the schools, and that creates this Cristero rebellion in the 1920s, where many regulations were put on the churches, closing schools and churches, limited the priests again, and peasants then are defending their religion come out in pretty good large numbers. They didn't want a secular state. They wanted religion to be part of it. Mexico and the rebellion both kind of viewing or realizing they wouldn't be able to win, decided to, upon some agreements. The biggest reason the U.S. did support Mexico, so the rebels couldn't win. Mexico's support from the people, they didn't have the support from the people, so they couldn't win. Regulations were then relaxed in the church. The Mexican miracle is very important. They talk about this all the time. In 20 years, 1940 to 1960, the economy grew each year by 6%, which is a huge number. Agriculture dropped, so industries that are countries that are prospering usually rely on industry, not agriculture. If you rely heavily for your economy on agriculture, you won't be a large economy. Expansion financed through oil and natural gas. They had a lot of those resources. Again, the problem was that the gap between the rich and the poor widened. Urbanization. Everyone's going to the cities for these jobs, but then shanty towns are created and they couldn't keep up with the infrastructure, so then creates a lot of disease, pollution issues, especially in Mexico City. So there's the number of GDP per capita in Mexico throughout the years. Continues to rise. Again, the Mexican miracle borrowed heavily, thinking all the oil prices would remain the same when they plummeted. Again, if you're a rentier state, you're relying on the oil. The price of oil falls, so does the economy, and they climb into a large debt, about $107 billion in debt. In order to repair, Miguel de la Madrid, for 6 years in his presidency, cuts the spending. Pressure from Mexican government, World Bank, United States, other private banks, began an austerity plan, reduce government spending, and then privatize all the peristatals. Again, the peristatals are government-owned agencies like Pemex that cost a lot of money to employ people, so you start privatizing those, and then lower tariffs to get foreign trade to increase. The NAFTA agreement between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, goal was to integrate all the economies, eliminate tariffs, and reduce any trade restrictions in order to increase trade. And then lastly, the Maquiladora is an area in the north. It's a manufacturing zone that was in the 1960s, close to the United States border. Produces goods primarily for consumers in the United States. Because these U.S. companies rely on those low wages, they take advantage of them. Different environmental laws, labor laws, it's cheaper for them to move their companies to Mexico. NAFTA then created this boom and created this zone. 20% of the entire industrial labor force works in that zone, which again is in the north, close to the Mexican border. Another area you can find a lot of this information is in your Ethel Wood book, page 378 to 3